Hey, and welcome to Board with Life News for April 5th. Today I'm going to talk about an expansion for Scythe, The Legend of the Cherry Tree, Red Scare, a Wallace and Gromit game, as well as the Kickstarter for Circle the Wagons. Let's get to it. Hey, I'm Chris. Welcome to Board with Life News. Up first is Scythe, The Wind Gambit. This is the second expansion for the wildly popular game Scythe that came out a couple years back. This is going to add a couple new things, the most exciting of which is airships. You're going to get one new airship miniature per faction, and the airships are going to have randomized abilities based on like two different things. Apparently all of them are going to have the same ability, I think, but they're randomized. So like mine will do the same thing as yours, but each game they'll do something a little bit different. Of course, this comes with absolutely gorgeous new art and absolutely gorgeous new miniatures that are very, very evocative, like so much of this game is, so that's really exciting. This expansion is also going to add another module that's going to be called Resolution, and it changes how the game ends. So you can incorporate either or both of these into any game of Scythe with or without the other expansion, stuff like that. So it's very exciting because Scythe is great, and more stuff from this franchise. Is that a franchise? How does that work? I don't know. Anyways, moving on. Yellow has announced The Legend of the Cherry Tree that blossomed every 10 years. Apparently this is only a working title for the game, and they're probably going to change it, which is kind of a bummer because I love this title. I think it's a really weird title, and I like games that do stuff like that. But they'll probably do something more traditional. It's a quick 2 to 4 player push your luck game, along with some set collection. It's an adaptation of the Japanese game Hirohita. Yellow's been doing that a lot lately, kind of taking Japanese games or all sorts of games, American games from everywhere, and adapting them, redoing the art, often retheming them, putting kind of that yellow, very beautiful stamp on them. So that's great stuff. This is coming out the third quarter of this year. Pandasaurus Games announced Red Scare. This is a social deduction game for 4 to 10 players. In it, you're all FBI agents trying to stop the spread of communism from socialist Russia. And the big twist, the big hook on this game is basically you have red decoder glasses that some people get to wear at some points in the game. And those will, like the old serial thing where it reveals a secret message. You'll be able to read certain parts of certain cards that nobody else can. So then it's a social deduction game. So like you might be some sort of communist spy, you might be lying. You have to convince people to believe what you see and only you can see. So that's really great. The game is kind of like a fun take on what's going on today as well, which is kind of fun. It's not. What's going on today is not fun. The game is a fun kind of throwback, even though it's also very relevant today, which is actually, I guess, horrifying when you think about it. So good on them. Anyways, so it's got really nice visual design, kind of throwbacks to old propaganda posters and stuff like that, and it should be coming out September of 2017. Fragor Games announced that they've been working on a Wallace and Gromit, or maybe just an Aardman animation game. They released this picture to confirm it, so it's not clear whether that is specifically Wallace and Gromit, or it's just that they were at the Aardman Animation Studios. Fragor Games are two brothers that make generally one game each year and release it at Essen. They did Snow Tales, a bunch of other stuff. They're often known for being wildly overproduced and kind of silly in that way. This one, they had announced last year that the game that they would have had at Essen, they're actually going to have to go to Kickstarter because it's a exciting license. So this seems to be that. So it should be Kickstarted at some point this year. I'm really interested to see how this license does. I love Wallace and Gromit. I love Aardman Animation. I'm a big fan of stop motion and claymation. So they're kind of, in terms of like very traditional claymation, they are kind of the top studio. Whereas I think somebody like Leica in America, Tangent, is beautiful and incredible, but I think they're a little bit less traditional because they do the 3D print faces. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. So I'm interested to see how this license does, because I don't know. I know Aardman Animation has a lot of fans. I just don't know how that'll translate. It's a little bit different than something like Ghostbusters or, Terminator or these other big licenses that are getting games. But I'm definitely very excited about it. And yeah, I don't know when it's coming to Kickstarter, but it should be sometime this year. This week's Kickstarter is for Circle the Wagons. This is a drafting micro game for 2 players. It's the next in the line of wallet games from Button Shy Games that they've been putting out just tons and tons and tons of. in the game, you're drafting cards in a circle, and you can either take the next card or skip to whatever card you want, but then your opponent gets the cards that you skipped over. And you're kind of tableau building, where you're making your own little sort of city with connecting areas, and you're trying to connect colors and stuff. And then there's different scoring bonuses. It's very simple, but looks like a really good game. I love these little wallet games. They're literally in a little plastic wallet that you can put in your pocket. They're very portable. Jason Tagmeyer with Button Shy has really been doing some really great things with like the art of the games and just filling a game space with a very specific idea, which is pretty cool. It's $10 right now on Kickstarter, and there are a ton of different add-ons, including a bunch of other wallet games and stuff like that. So if that's interesting to you, go back that. All right, that's the news for this week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you follow me on social media. I'm at Chris Bryan Games on Twitter and Instagram. Also, go check out my Patreon, because I can only do this thanks to the wonderful support of my Patreon backers. They're my favorite people in the whole world, except for like my wife and maybe my like niece and nephew, and I guess some really close friends and other relatives. But they're really cool, and I like them a lot. So you should be one of those. Anyways. This week's question comes from @CrumUses. I don't know, man. Why can't people just have normal Twitter handles? Via Twitter, and they ask, how does social media play a role in the board game industry, and who is using it well? Social media is really great. Been really great for the board game industry, I think. I use it for, connecting with people that I've met at cons. I mean, a lot of people that I'm friends with in the board game industry, I don't have like their cell phone numbers or anything. We just like via social media connect whenever we're at cons and that kind of thing. I just use it to find a hotel room for Origins that I can crash. So yeah, it's really useful. I think Facebook groups, there's a lot of activity and discussion there. It's been really good. I think I'm going to go through a couple of very specific examples. There are so many people using it so well, but I just kind of picked a couple that I really kind of admire what they're doing. I think the Instagram account, at @ISlayTheDragon, he does incredible photos of board games, but they're not like laid out how you would play them. He just uses the components and like recontextualizes them to these weird like abstract pieces of art, and then takes really nice photos of them. So I think that is pretty amazing. So definitely go check that one out. I think Daniel Solis on Twitter does an incredible work of like designing in public, which is also really good for him because you can tell when he really hits on something. And mainly what I want from social media accounts, not what I want, but I think the people that are really doing it well are people that are contributing something to the community in a like direct way. Like I think Daniel Solis just freely gives of all of his knowledge and everything he learns via Twitter and other social media platforms, and I think that's really great. At the I Slay the Dragon, he's doing these like crazy intensive, time-consuming things that are really beautiful. I think a couple of publishers do a really good job with that too, like kind of freely giving them themselves, like Portal and Jamie Stegmaier. I think they both have really good social media presences, and they also have really good YouTube presences where they very regularly are kind of showing you the inner workings of what's going on. So yeah, I would highly recommend, if you're not on social media, to get on social media. And the board game community is pretty open. So if you have somebody that you really like on social media, just tweet at them and you'll probably wind up meeting them. Or maybe you won't. Maybe they'll be really mean. But then at least you know they're really mean and you shouldn't like them anyway. So yeah, that is the news for this week. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week.